slow and logy, and it was just not good. So they decide that's it. No more Star Trek. And Mr. Bluedorn is the first name I've forgotten. Do you remember what Bluedorn's first name was?
No,
Amy?
I'm sorry.
So far, it's not going well. I've forgotten Mr. Bluedorn's first name. Mr. Probably. What was it? If that's the same guy, I'm not hearing. Anyway, I think his first name was Mr. And Mr. Bluedorn said, okay, no more Star Trek movies. And his wife said, are you crazy? It's Star Trek. You got to make another Star Trek movie. So Bluedorn listened to his wife. So actually, the two wives are responsible for the Star Trek movies. And nobody realized at the time that it was a Me Too. It started back then. So they decided to make it a lot cheaper for about a third or a quarter of the cost of the movie. And they moved it into the television arm. And what's his name who... it's a condition, folks. What's the name of the producer of...
Harv Bennett.
What is it?
Harv Bennett.
Harv Bennett, right. Harv Bennett, that's right. I knew that. I was just testing you, Amy. And you came through this. Harv Bennett, who'd done television, said, I can make these movies cheaper. And what he did was he went back to the originals and looked at all 79 episodes and selected one that he thought would make a good movie. And it became The Wrath of Khan. And then they thought, that's the end of it. And every movie that we made, everybody thought, well, that's the last movie. And they burned the sets. They would destroy the control. Well, no. Me talk, you listen. Except for him, when he's got a helpful hit. Or you too, Amy. You can talk on occasion. So, Harv Bennett was the conductor of this, and and so they said, no more movies, so they burned the sets. And every time we made a movie, they said, well, that's the last movie. And they would burn the sets all the way up to as many as we made. They had to make new sets all the time, because they had no faith, Amy. I just knocked over my Saratoga Springs. I've got spring water all over the floor. And you've got your... It's going well, Amy.
It is, I can
You got
tell.
put together. Why don't you... Can I help you pick them up?
No, I've got them. This is within my skill set, actually. I anticipated something.
All right, there we go. So now I'm going to settle in and watch you.
All right. Yeah.
Half my Saratoga Spring is gone. It's so good. Do you drink Saratoga Spring? Yeah. I asked somebody about how good this is. It's good for your kidneys. I said, I don't have a problem with my kidneys. And they said, after you drink it, you will. It's an old joke, but I thought it would work. And it wouldn't work in the next place because it's not Saratoga Springs. Okay. Do you have a question for me?
I do have a question for you.
What is that?
Well, I would like to hear about Ricardo Montalban and how the two of you managed to do this awesome Shakespearean combat. Really. It's so juicy. And you're like...
He was juicy.
Well, I think the juicy was one of
He was juicy and not Jewish, is that right?
But how did that work? Because you guys never actually were in the same room together, so how did you generate that back and forth?
Because he's a degenerate.
He's a degenerate.
He was, or I am. Ricardo Montalban, or as he liked to do it, Ricardo Montalban. Ricardo Montalban. Strangest thing. So I'm a kid in Canada, Montreal, and I'm able to go to New York City and see some shows. I think my parents must have brought me or something. I was like middle-aged teenager. And I go see a musical. And for some reason, there's a guy that's dancing in the musical. And I was a young actor. I'd been acting for quite a while at that time. Knew a little bit about personalities and the theatricality of people. And I'm looking at this guy and Jesus, he's a good dancer and he has some words to say. He speaks very well with a Spanish accent. And it's very good. Then a year later, I'm going to a movie and I see this guy in the movies. He's Latin lover and he's riding horses and really very good. And so it's just sort of in the back of my mind, like noticing a talent. Like you might see somebody on a television show and say, that's really good. And every so often you see them and you remember them and you kind of follow them as they mature. So I had that going with this young Latin performer. And then I met him on the set of the series where he played the part of Todd in a segment of the series from which the movie is derived. And I met him and we talked and I told him about noticing him and he was walking with a limp. And I said, you were such a wonderful dancer. Did you fall? He said, no, I fell off a horse and I hit my heart. It hurt my hip and I don't know. And it got progressively worse. So the years went by and I'd watch him and I'd see that his motion was very limited. And finally we got to this movie and he was unable to move. He was in a wheelchair. The injury or something inherited, I'm not sure, got worse and worse. And so being the positive, extraordinary man that he was, he built his upper body. And when he took his shirt off, he had his pecs. You know, somebody asked me about his pecs. And I said, oh yeah, well what they did was they operated it, made a and he was able to slide. Really? I said, no, not really. The man is doing push-ups and everything. So he worked out what muscles he had to the fullest of his extent. He was, he really deserves applause because he never let it get him down. And I became very, very fond of him. We talked a lot. I went to his house. He had a beautiful home up in the hills of Hollywood. And I went to see him. And there was a last moment when we said goodbye. I didn't know it was the last moment, but there's something sad about it, something encumbered on that last visit. And he died. And he was marvelous. He was a marvelous force in the industry. He was also a marvelous force for his people. He was from Mexico. And, very active in the Latin community, theater, and scholarships, and he donated a lot of money. He was a wonderful man. Ricardo Montalban.
It's a wonderful performance, just like both. And so since you're here in Schenectady, I think everybody here would love to hear about your canoe ride. All the way down the Hudson, starting along the St. Lawrence. Anyway,
my canoe ride.
Yes, your canoe ride. Your canoe ride.
Well, there are some people maybe still around when I came through who will not talk to me of my voyage through Schenectady. so I'm at a welfare camp teaching. I'm a counselor at a welfare camp. I'm 18 or 19 years old. And I, along with a lot of other guys who were just above the age of the people going to the camp. And so one summer, I was there for 3 summers, I was in great demand at that camp. I would tell stories. I would tell ghost stories to kids of 10, 11, and 12. Like they were enthralled by the Telltale Heart story.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So they weren't traumatized.
Yeah. I didn't realize that I had traumatized them. A couple of kids went back to the city because of that night when I traumatized them with the Telltale Heart. But I was in great demand for it was like being around a campfire and telling ghost stories. Only I can tell a ghost story pretty well. As slowly the skeleton rose up higher. There was a light in the eyes as it uttered, "Nevermore." So I used to go month to month in demand as the storyteller. They wouldn't go to sleep until I came there, and then, of course, they couldn't sleep. So that summer, one of those 3 summers, probably the last one, 8 of the strong young Canadians got into an Indian war canoe. 8 of us. And we left Montreal, went up the St. Lawrence River to the Richelieu, up the Richelieu to Lake Champlain. Lake Champlain, which is so big that on a misty morning you can't see one end to the other, like being in the ocean. About halfway through the thing, I had to pee. So I got up to pee, and 7 other faces looked up at me. I didn't have to pee anymore. And then we portaged.
Whole trip from all the way down.
I did from all 7 guys. It's funny how you lose the desire to pee when everybody's looking at you. So we got to Lake George, Portage, down the headwaters of the Hudson River, and as we started moving down the Hudson River, our advance, people were talking about us because we were going to go on to New York City. So, especially in Schenectady, there was a large group of people who were waiting for our arrival. They were going to celebrate, they were going to give us a meal. But by that time, all 8 of us were so hungry to get home, and get to New York and get home, that we're paddling along, and we decide, and there's all boats waiting for us at the Richelieu and the Mohawk, at the Hudson and the Mohawk. All of Schenectady, it turned out. Hey, come on, we got a great meal for you. We got toasted bagels, and and we're paddling. Hi there, Schenectady. We paddle right by.
So you've been here before then?
I feel I've been here before. But it was terrible. I felt so badly. All these kind people from Schenectady who were trying to get out of the way of the General Electric Mercury. I know about that.
You did your research. So I have a question from Jack.
Kind of. I'm getting a lot of this.
They're working.
Didn't quite work?
Did not quite work.
More to go.
So here's a question from the audience. Jack Cantrelli of Troy, New York would like to know, if you didn't get the role of Kirk on the series, what role would you have liked to play? Choose anything. Shatner's choice.
Well, I guess Sulu, so I wouldn't have to deal with George Takei. talk into your mic. It's very important.
Okay.
Amy's a journalist.
Yeah, and I don't know how to breathe properly.
No, just write it. Perfect.
All right, so hypothetical question.
Hypothetical.
All right.
Do you want a true answer or a hypothetical answer?
It can be any kind of answer you like. I really don't care. Just make it entertaining. All right.
Your turn.
Yeah. Well,
Fake news.
Fake news.
A little trumpet, are you?
Okay, we change the subject. Hypothetical. You take a slingshot around the sun, okay? Just like Star Trek 4, right? You've already all seen Star Trek 4, right?
A slingshot
around the sun.
Yeah.
And you travel into the past.
Into the past?
1966. And 2018 Shat goes up to 1966 Shat and gives him what?
Am I Shat?
Yes, you're Shat.
You're dead.
Uh-oh. Okay. 2018 William Shatner.
Goes up to
1966 William Shatner.
Oh, starting.
35. Well, he's deciding whether to start Star Trek or not.
Yeah.
What advice does 2018 Mr. William Shatner say to 1966?
Be nice to George Takei. Oh, what advice. Well, you know, that was an interesting year for me. No. If you have to make pee-pee, it's over there. That was an interesting time that year. I had a world-famous playwright, Norman Corwin, who wrote many of the great radio dramas for CBS during the Second World War and into the late 40s, maybe 50s. And then he wrote great plays after that. And he was a real force in drama and in writing for years. I attended his 100th birthday a few years ago. He passed now, but he had written me a play. And we opened it at the University of Utah, where they had wanted world premiere plays, and they were willing to finance a play and give it to the author and the producer to take wherever they wanted once they had opened got the world premiere rights. So we opened this play, and I said to an English professor at the university, I think this play has elements of Shakespeare in it. And he said, no, come on. And then he saw the play, and I saw him later, and he said, you know, you're right. This play has the poetry and the magnificence of the Shakespeare play. We were going to take it to Broadway. And then the phone rang, and the pilot that I had made, called Star Trek, had sold. And instead of being able to take the play to Broadway, I signed the contract, so I went with Star Trek. The year before, I had done a pilot on Alexander the Great. I made a film called Alexander the Great, and I had prepared for 6-8 months, weightlifting and learning to ride bareback, and I really prepared for this movie, and it never came about as a series, but I had the body of a weightlifter and the skill of a horseman, which I was able to use at various times. So I then entered into Star Trek, and we had no idea what was about to happen, and in fact nothing happened. We did 3 years, and you know, it was moderately successful for a couple of years, and not so moderately successful the third year, and then we were canceled, and that was the end of it. So what would I have said to Shatner? And there are several dead people who have called me Shatz. Mine bleeding on the floor. And the last words were, I'm sorry I called you Shatz. said, in 50 years, you're going to be on stage, 55 years, with Amy Jessica Morelli.
Wait, what?
What's your last name? Amy
Biancoli.
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 Biancoli. Biancoli.
Biancoli.
Biancoli. You don't have to be Italian by any chance. Biancoli. So you'll be on stage 55 years from now with Amy Biancoli talks about Star Trek. You know, I would have laughed like that.
Well, if she calls me Shat, I don't want anything to do with it.
Who's called Shat?
If he said no. Never mind. It's a traumatic memory for me.
Okay. Beginning to bother me.
So, you had mentioned this play that you did not take to Broadway.
Right.
But you've done a lot of Broadway. You've done a lot of live theater. You've done.
Yes.
You did the Stratford Shakespeare Festival with Tyrone Guthrie.
In fact, I don't want to frighten you, but this is in front of a live audience too.
They're live. So how much of that informed Kirk? I mean, you arrived and you took the role as this accomplished young theater actor, and you had done The World of Susan Wong.
Yeah, that's an interesting question because, and I've looked at that fairly often. I'd been in the theater many years, Canada, joined the Shakespeare Company in Canada out of Ontario, and the leading classical company in North America. In fact, we went to festivals in England and did Shakespeare in England, much like a company of French players out of Montreal did Molière in Paris. The New World came to the Old World and showed them a little bit of what we're doing. So there's a theatricality, an energy that a theater actor must have in order to reach the balcony. There's an energy. And so your focus, the stage actor's focus is like out there. So you're speaking, but you're speaking out there. But the film actor's focus is right here. You're speaking to you, so I'm doing the same thing. I mean, trying to be as truthful to you, but I am now in front of the camera, and my energy is pointed here. And that takes some time for an actor to realize that, and I think in the beginning I was a little theatrical, but on the other hand, why not? Shakespeare.
So I have another question from Mark of Troy, New York, who would like to know, boxers, briefs, or commando?
Boxer, briefs, or commando?
That's a fair question.
Depends. Let's focus.
Would you like to talk about the time you hitchhiked across the U.S.?
Would I like to talk about the time I hitchhiked across the U.S.?
Is that a happy memory or a traumatic?
Oh, no. I've crossed the United States many times. I've made the cross in the U.S. many times. Oh, no, God forgive me. I hitchhiked from Montreal to San Diego, to Vancouver, to Chicago, to back to Montreal. And it was filled with adventure. And I'm trying to think of a story that I can tell concisely enough so that it doesn't bore you. I got to Vancouver. I was traveling alone. Guy I started off with quit. His name was George. No, his name was Lonnie, and so he had gotten cold feet. He said, I can't take this anymore. He went back to Montreal. So I was thumbing myself across the United States, got down to San Diego, made my way up to Vancouver. And I have an aunt in Vancouver, and she said, I know you need to get back to Montreal, because I was going to college at the time. That summer, I'd taken a few weeks to take this adventure. And I've got a ride for you from Vancouver to Chicago. And she said, I want you to meet Rabbi Cohen. So the rabbi said, young man, I have to, I'm an Orthodox rabbi, and I have to get to Chicago before Friday night, before the sun goes down on Friday night. Can you get me to the temple on time? So I said, I think I can. I ushered him and his wife into his car. They got in the back seat, and I got in the front seat. Pressed the accelerator. And 11 hours later, we were in Calgary, and then we spent the night in Calgary, and I went south and got into the south and the Dakotas, and then by Friday morning, we were in Illinois, and I could smell Chicago. And Friday afternoon, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I could see Chicago. And then, so I'm racing towards towards Chicago to get there before sundown. When this religious rabbi, it was against his religion to beat a car on the Sabbath. And all of a sudden, the cops stopped. Not now. And he said, where do you think you're going? And I said, well, I got to get to the synagogue. And why do you have to get to the synagogue? Because I got a rabbi in the back seat. You got a rabbi. That's the worst thing. I rolled down the window, and the cop sticks his head. He says, Rabbi Chaim, how are you? And Rabbi Chaim says, oh, Officer Shalinsky, how's it going? Aren't you supposed to be in the synagogue? Yeah, well, get going. Go. I'm racing through the streets of Chicago trying to find the synagogue, and all of a sudden the sun that's blinding me in the rearview mirror winks out, and the rabbi says, is it sundown? And I said, no, it's not sundown. The sun went behind a building. It's a man-made sundown. We want God. Sundown, don't we, rabbis? Yes. And I said, and it offers up a dilemma, a question. Rabbi, how much of the sun has to go down before it's sundown? 45% of the sun, 75%. I mean, how much of the sun? I said, it's a dilemma. It's an enigma. I said, you're right, my boy. How much of that? He started to, suddenly I arrived at the
So, Sarah Flynn. This is not Sarah Flynn.
Cheryl Flynn.
Sarah Flynn of
Sarah
Queens.
Flynn.
Sarah Flynn.
Daryl.
Sarah.
Where are you, Daryl? Daryl here? Daryl, say something. I just wanted to make sure these questions were honest.
Of Queensbury, New York, would like to hear about your relationship with Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley.
Thank you, Dad. I love them both. It's possible I love Leonard more than I loved. They were both great individuals. DeForest Kelley was the essence of a Southern gentleman. And I wrote a book last year called Leonard and 50 Years of Friendship with a great guy. And he was my brother. We spent so much time together. Ordinarily, when actors do a series and they're on a series, you're fighting a war with the management, you have to learn lines, you got to do the lines together, never enough time, people are pushing and shoving. So the actors kind of unite. There's a bond that forms like soldiers in battle. That's what Leonard and I had for those years of Star Trek, both in the series and the movies. We were together. And we spent many an evening talking, many a time in going to location, and in a car we'd be together and we'd talk. I remember one time in a car, there were 4 actors, Leonard, myself, 2 other guys. We were talking about smoking. And each of us, given a reason for giving up smoking. I said, I'm giving up smoking because my kids won't kiss me. Daddy, you smell smoke. I'm quitting. Another guy said, I'm quitting for this reason. Another guy, and Leonard said, I've got to quit too. And he never quit. He never quit, and he died of lung disease that was the smoking was the cause. In fact, I'm going to do something with an oxygen manufacturer who's got an ability to make oxygen that had the device. He might have lived longer at any rate. Inogen is the name of it. So Leonard and I were brothers, and I love him dearly and miss him all. Now DeForest, as he got older, well, let me tell you the story. We would shoot at night sometimes, all night long, from sundown to sunrise. And you know, when you're late at night, anybody working together late at night, no matter what you're doing, it's late. Things are slower. You're tired, and you're liable to talk and reveal more than you would ordinarily. You get somebody and interview somebody late. You know, there's a way they open up more. Their defenses are down. So DeForest and I would talk late into the night when we do that. And one night he revealed a fear. He said, "Bill, I'm not remembering like I used to. I think I'm losing the ability to remember. Actors have to remember words. That's our tools. And I think I'm losing the ability.